Well, first of all, let me thank you for being here with us today. And I'm excited to announce an important opportunity for the citizens of Wichita to help shape the long-term growth and the spending plans of the city. Over the past couple of years, our community has been in difficult work of planning for a variety of issues, opportunities, and challenges. We believe that this planning work is important in determining where we're headed and how we make decisions and work to get in ways that are positive for the quality of life here in our community. Today, I'm inviting you to be a part of the Community Investment Plan. This is a long-term plan for both the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County, which will focus on the policies of growth and investment for the next 20 years. The plan process started last year with the community survey. Now is the time to build on that information with you and your individual input as important stakeholders in our community. This month, the first two-part series of the community meetings will take place. The first phase consists of 4 open house meetings that are designed to ask you how we can best grow as a community in the future. Also, to get your ideas on how we should best invest in our public infrastructure in order to promote economic growth, development, and job creation. Secondly, to advance community quality of life, health, and safety. Third, retain our young professionals and create a place where future generations will want to live, work, and play. We need to hear from each and every one of you. As you know, the City of Wichita, last year we went through social media and a lot of other different ways of being able to get your input and your ideas from going out to the communities and also having you come meet with us and to talk with you about that. And we're asking for that same information this time. And we need to hear from residents, we need to hear from business, we need to hear from everyone on all of these important matters as we move forward. I encourage you to take a few minutes from your busy schedules to drop by one of these important open house meetings and to give your input so that your voice can be heard. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Dave Barber, the Community Investment Plan Project Manager, who will give you more details on this. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor Brewer. Okay, the meetings will be open from 4 to 7 p.m. on the following dates and locations. First meeting is on April 14th at the City Arts Building at North Mead. Next meeting is on April 16th next week at the Alford Library on South Meridian. Third meeting is on April 21st at the WSU Metroplex, room 185 on 29th Street North. And the last meeting is on April 28th at the Sedgwick County Extension Office, the Meadowlark room over at 21st and Ridge. These meetings are essentially come and go, very informal in nature. Just drop by and visit one at your convenience. It would probably take about 15 minutes for an average person to review the material that's available at the open house. We'll have several staff in attendance who will be able to answer questions on the material and help explain any of the information that is presented there. The open house meetings will present the following information: the need for doing this community investment plan, the guiding principles and goal for the plan, along with the timetable for completing this planning initiative. Also included will be a summary of trends and challenges facing our community over the next 20 years, our population and employment growth projections out to the year 2035, a current assessment of our public infrastructure condition and some of the issues, particularly for the City of Wichita, in our existing infrastructure. We'll also be presenting 3 possible Wichita 2035 growth scenarios that have been developed by the Plan Steering Committee that's been working on this. And this will include an assessment of the infrastructure cost revenue gap associated with each of these 3 scenarios. We'll also be presenting a summary of the community feedback that we've received over the last year from the Wichita State Community Survey that went out last year, as well as the recently completed ACT ICT initiative of engaging our community. And then lastly, at the open house, we'll have several questions for attendees to answer regarding the following. How best should Wichita grow in the next 20 years? And how best can we provide an effective decision-making process and criteria that can be used in that decision-making process to ensure that we're making the best infrastructure spending and cost reduction decisions for our community over the long term. I would mention that a second set of stakeholder presentation meetings are being planned to have more in-depth discussion on these very issues in May and June, and we'll be giving you more information about those meetings in a few weeks. So I would encourage you to contact me if you have any questions. You can also go to our project website at www.communityinvestmentsplan.org. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Those, at the website you just mentioned,
Yes.
Can people look and see those 3 scenarios that you brought up?
Yes. Yes.
Can you enumerate a little bit on some of the big projects that would be included in those scenarios?
Well, basically, the scenarios are all. We have 3 scenarios. One's called basically the current trends, the status quo, and associated with that are all the currently planned proposed infrastructure projects, both on city, county, and in some of our planning documents out for the next 20 years. So the first scenario is based on the implementation of all these community improvement projects. And then the second 2 scenarios that we have are essentially variations of that baseline scenario that the steering committee basically developed as hypothetical alternative ways that we can grow in the future. And we kind of have a cost revenue breakdown by project for each of the 3 scenarios. And then if you come to the open house or look at our project website, you can see that some of the major differences in terms of projects between the 3 scenarios. The bottom line is, regardless of which scenario we're kind of looking at right now, that we have this $9 to $10 billion cost revenue gap over the next 20 years. So the challenge here is how are we going to help close that gap over the long term as we create a community where we want to be proud of.
Cool. Spell your last name.
Barber.
Okay, and what's your title?
I'm the Advanced Plans Manager for the Wichita Sedgwick County Planning Department.
And why is it so important you get input from the public instead of just letting you guys figure it out?
Well, that's a good question. We obviously believe that any effective plan for our community has to reflect the will and wishes of the people who live in that community. And frankly, that's our challenge as professionals, is to help ensure that we create a long-term plan for our community that is truly reflective of our community values and aspirations that are ultimately reflected through our elected officials who make the decisions on our behalf. So we need to hear from folks.
Any idea when you'll make a final decision after these public meetings? Like, is there a date, a deadline?
Yeah, here's our project timeline. At the conclusion of June, we'll essentially gather our community input. And then the steering committee will go into a plan development mode through the balance of this year of developing a draft plan that reflects their recommended preferred growth scenario. And it could be a combination of the 3 scenarios that they've developed so far, and then based on community feedback, perhaps making some adjustments. And then our plan is in the new year, in January or February, we'll be going back out to the community with a proposed long-term plan, getting more feedback on that. The goal is to have this wrapped up by the end of next year. So, it's good stuff. You need to get involved.
Really
Yep.
quick, one last question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know one thing that the mayor brought up was the fact that this was going to be like a long-term commitment for people as far as their input. How long, I mean, are you saying people will need to be giving their input until the end of next year, or what are you guys hoping to? What kind of investment are you needing from people if they are going to like really want to
Get involved? Yeah, these next 3 months are critical, April, May, June. This is where we really need to hear from folks in terms of setting a direction, setting relative priorities, determining wants and needs. And then the plan steering committee will take that, draft a plan, and then back in the beginning of next year, we'll take this back out to the community and we'll have another round of engagement to say, What do you think of what the steering committee's put together here? Does this reflect your vision for where we want to go as a community? And we'll have a lot of engagement next year as well. So now's the time to step up.